Canada. Thanks for joining us this week. We hope that you're staying safe, doing your part to stay safe during these interesting times. So like always, the show wouldn't be what it is without our fabulous panel this evening. So starting with from Seattle, Washington, we have Michael Hudson.
What's going on, guys? 2 days away till TB12 against my homeboy. Can't wait.
And of course, we have our honorary Canadian, Zolty Horvath from Vancouver, British Columbia.
What's up, guys? We are 2 days away from my homeboy beating up TB12. Let's go.
Oh, it's already starting. We haven't even gotten to football yet. And last but certainly not least, we have Ken Cruz from Washington, D.C.
Guys, we are 0 days away from the Dodgers looking to repeat by signing Trevor Bauer. What's up?
Unreal.
Who is that?
Wow. So once again, we want to remind you that even though we're very passionate about our takes, we are by no means experts in the things that we talk about. We're just simply speaking from the heart. So before we get started into our discussion, we're going to give you some updates from different events that happened in the sports world this week. So starting off with Ken Cruz, who has an update for us for a very exciting sporting event coming this weekend, as these guys alluded to. Hey, Ken, I heard you got to chat up some pretty important people this week.
I'd say pretty important. It's the guy that's in every single commercial. Thanks, Arena. So it's Super Bowl week, and one of the long-standing traditions for players and coaches is to sit with hundreds of media members from around the world to answer all sorts of questions related and unrelated to the big game. However, because of the current pandemic situation, interviews with players and coaches have been all virtual via Zoom meetings. EBC was able to join in on one of these media days, actually pretty much all of these media days. Myself, Mike, and Jolty were all there this week. One of the players that we were able to interview and ask a question from was the reigning Super Bowl MVP, Patrick Mahomes. He mentioned during his interview that he'd be extremely busy throughout these last 2 weeks preparing for the big game. I had a chance to ask him about what he does during the minutes or hours when he does have some free time, and here's his answer.
Hey, Patrick. So I know you mentioned that you've had 2 weeks, or you have 2 weeks to prepare, and but you do have some off time, right? I think you said last year something about watching live PD. What are you using to get some entertainment in?
The one thing I really did is last week when we had a couple of off nights, I played a little bit of Call of Duty. But other than that, I just kind of sit around, study a little bit at the house with Brittany, and then we watch TV and whatever's on. I might catch a movie or watch Law and Order or Chicago PD or whatever's on TV at the time.
So you know how I know this dude is cut different? When I play Call of Duty, I finish more stressed out, probably because I'm really bad at it. This guy plays Call of Duty to relieve his stress. So future GOAT, I don't know. Well, back to you, Z.
Thanks, Ken. And it's crazy. You get reminders of how normal these guys are. They're just watching Law and Order like I do sometimes, but I'm not prepping for football. So anyways, now we have an update from Mike about a very different looking All-Star weekend for the NBA.
We sure do, Z. So the NBA National Basketball Players Association have recently finalized an agreement for an All-Star game on March 7th in Atlanta by next week, according to a league memo shared with all the teams. So the single night event will encompass the Eastern Conference, Western Conference game, as well as the skills competitions, according to the memo. Also, additionally, safety protocols expected to include players arriving on Saturday and leaving on Sunday night under tight quarantines are among the details still being talked about. The memo included details about All-Star break rules that will include no international travel, daily testing for players, and a requirement to return to home markets no later than the second day before the team's first game after the break, the memo also said. Though Phoenix Suns guard and NBPA president Chris Paul has been an advocate of the All-Star game this year, LeBron James has not, as much as saying that the game is a slap in the face. And this harkens back to the offseason where NBA Commissioner Adam Silver stated that the players would have an extended rest during the All-Star break and play no annual game due to the minimal rest already after the bubble. But with so much money being lost during the regular season due to no fans, the NBA has felt the pressure coming specifically from the owners because they have to somehow make up the cost of not having fans to watch the game. So will the other players follow suit as LeBron James have that same attitude? We'll see what happens, but we'll keep you posted. Back to you, Z.
Thanks, Mike. So we'll definitely get into that later on in the show. But lastly, we have an update from Zolti about potential alternatives for NCAA.
Yeah, so EA Sports announced on Tuesday that it is rebooting its college football video game. This will be the first time a college sports game will be released since NCAA football 2014. Zarita, you were in high school, I'm pretty sure, back then. The hiatus was due to a ruling by the courts that NCAA athletes could and should be profiting off their likeness, which was previously against NCAA rules. Only a few details have been released as the new game is still in its early stages, but early reports state we won't see the game hit shelves until at least 2023. Another report stated that the game will include the NCAA Division I schools, but no likeness to any player on any team will be included. This would allow EA Sports to bypass paying the athletes for including them in the game. And I can see Mike smirking off camera there. In that same report, it was also stated that anyone who creates and releases an actual roster of any team will be heavily prosecuted under state or federal laws, which is absolutely crazy. I'll try and keep everyone updated when new details of the game emerge. See?
Insane.
Thanks, Zolti. So now you're all caught up on some updates from the sports world this week. Don't go anywhere because right after the break, we're going to jump into our NBA talk. We'll be right back.
Nagigigil na ako sa'yo. Bakit ganito TV natin? May snow. Uy, bakit tahimik na kayo? Ay, si Kapitan! Nakikita kita. Magalang mong kausap si Tito Jennifer. Ay! Ayoko na nga ako mag-aral, Teacher Jenny! Kailangan mo mag-online class! Hoy!
Welcome back to EBC Sports International. I'm your host, Zarita Sese from Toronto, Canada. So before the break, Mike was able to give us a quick update of what the new looking All-Star weekend or event or night, whatever you want to call it, for the NBA will look like. So since then, like Mike mentioned, one of the top vote getters of the All-Star weekend, Mr. LeBron James, has spoken out about how he feels about the proposed plans, stating that he has zero energy, zero excitement about any All-Star game this year. So pretty much it's kind of a slap in the face, and that was the exact words he used. So LeBron went on further, stating that he's not very happy about it, but it's going to come down to the decision of the NBA and its Players Association. So we don't want to call out LeBron James only, because I think DeAndre Fox has already spoken out saying that it's not the greatest idea to actually have an All-Star weekend event during a pandemic. So just looking at very high level at this point, Zolti, I'm going to go to you. Do you agree with what LeBron is saying, even DeAndre Fox, about pretty much what's going on under a pandemic?
Yeah, it's De'Aaron Fox, and he's not a top vote getter anyway, so I don't know why he's complaining. But LeBron James definitely has a point. Out of anyone who is a top vote getter, he has had the least amount of rest. He went all the way to the finals, won, and then you still got to work out a bit in the off season, right? You have short rest in the off season. You come back in. You're basically the leader of this team. So any rest days, anything like that is almost a sign of weakness to him. So he's gonna try to ball out as much as he can. The NBA is crazy to want to go on with an all-star game. I mean, with all of the COVID protocols and all the safety stuff going on with the league, you're going to send a group of players who aren't normally together into one place and have them practice and play and compete against each other for something that doesn't even matter. For instance, in the CFL, I know it's way smaller than the NBA. Every year they announce, who are the all-stars are, and there's no game because, there's no point of it. When's the last time any of us have actually watched an all-star game? For me, it was back when Michael Jordan was still playing. I don't watch the all-star game. There's no point of it. The dunk contest, the three-point shootout, those are all fun. But you don't need to put on an entire event to have those things. It's absolutely crazy to me. And yeah, he's right.
No, for sure. I totally agree with you. Ken, what do you think about LeBron James's statements?
Yeah, well, the fact that it's going to be in Atlanta, just looked up the stats right now. New cases yesterday was 5,800 new cases of COVID-19. So, putting all these players and staff and potentially their families in a situation where, it's an open city, right? It's one of those few, maybe 5 arenas in the NBA that actually has fans, and it's famous now for that dispute with that one fan and I think it's his wife or something, where he just started yelling at LeBron. So
Karen.
It's an interesting narrative, yes, but it's one of those things where, look, LeBron's literally the face of the league, right? He's in year 18, he's still MVP caliber. That's a different conversation. So for the face of the league to be saying something this outspoken, to LeBron's defense, Jolty mentioned it, you mentioned it. The guy has had no rest, and also supposedly he thought that there wasn't going to be a game. And so he was preparing to go on vacation with his family. If there's something that LeBron's very good at, it's being a family man, and he takes his vacation very seriously, as you can see with his off season. And so I think he was looking forward to this, get a reset mentally, physically. He's going to be physically there, not mentally. But then watch, if that fan is somehow there again and starts yelling at him, this dude's going to blow up for 50 points. But, one thing that I did want to bring up, too, is that, what kind of quality of game do you expect these guys to bring, right? It's probably going to be the Pro Bowl version of an All-Star game, because Pro Bowl guys, it's right before Super Bowl. They play maybe 30% of what they're actually capable of. I bet you it's going to be something similar where guys are just chucking a bunch of threes. And who's going to be whispering to do this? It's going to be LeBron James himself. Hey, guys, don't take this seriously. Everyone's going to fall in line, my guess.
No, for sure. And again, I'm surprised that with the way that LeBron carries his influence in the league, that they're actually doing this without him on board. But Mike, you mentioned this earlier. It might be about the money, and they're pushing for some sort of revenue to come in outside of these games. So do you think the NBA can afford to not do the NBA All-Star weekend?
At the end of the day, you're talking about billionaires, right? So, I think it's a drop in the bucket at the same time, I understand, because they're businessmen, they're running a business. They haven't had consistent revenues the past year and a half or so, definitely over a year. So I can definitely see why, because I know that based on other reports, that the All-Star game this year was supposed to be in Indiana. That was the spot,
Mm-hmm.
And obviously they don't have fans yet. So Atlanta was the place, because I think they're at 25% capacity or whatnot. So I can imagine the pressure that Adam Silver and the front office are probably facing from the owners that have been sacrificing already and continuing to pay the players their salaries. I know they took a little tiny pay cut for this season due to 72 games as opposed to 82 games. But yeah, to answer your question, I think, at the end of the day, they're running a business. They have to make tough decisions. And I think it's just one of those things where they just want to have some type of event where they can recoup some of the losses that they have.
Yeah, no,
if
for
I
sure.
can just throw something in here real quick. I did report last week that, the NHL borrowed $1 billion so that the teams can have $30 million each. And I did throw at the end of the story that the NBA also borrowed $900 million so that the teams can have extra revenue this season. Right. So if it's about revenue, it's there for them to take. So it shouldn't be about making extra revenue.
No, for sure.
Yeah, but at the same time, you want to build their brands, right? They want to continue to build their brands. So I mean, obviously you have individual players there, but I think at the end of the day, it's all about exposure at this point in the advertising dollars that you can get something from something.
You know what my suggestion would have been?
But at the end of the day, just don't play. I mean, if LeBron is mad,
just name the All-Stars and let them have that.
My suggestion was that you wait until the end of the season after the finals, have a quick game, right? Everything's done already, and it doesn't matter if you get it or not. COVID. I mean, and then probably by then everyone's going to be vaccinated anyways. By the summertime. So that's that. I think that would be a better audible call in this situation. Versus, and I don't think anyone's mentioned this yet, those 5 games, there's over 20 plus games that the NBA has already canceled / postponed that need to be played. And those 5 days during the All-Star break should be the time that these games should take place. What are they looking to do? Extend the season? Or, these games have to be played sometime, and this would be the perfect opportunity for that versus just putting everyone on the plane. Another reason too that it's in Atlanta is because the TNT, who's going to be hosting it, is there already, so they don't have to ship a bunch of media and network production stuff. It's already going to be in the city, so I think that's one of the reasons why it's going to be in Atlanta. But other than that, as I mentioned, if their players, especially your big time players, are against this doesn't bode well for the league.
Listen, you can have like I said, no one really watches the actual game. The best part of All-Star Weekend is the dunk contest, 3-point shootout, skills contest. You can do these things virtually. You can have a dunk contest virtually with, virtual judges. You can have a 3-point contest virtually in an NBA arena. You can't say that one NBA arena is better than the other. They have to be the same. That's the whole point of fair competition in the NBA. You can have these things virtually, still get sponsorship money, still make a revenue, even if you don't have fans there because of sponsorships. You don't have to fly all these guys to Atlanta for 2 days of this stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's crazy to think how different this year's All-Star Weekend will be compared to last year. And I have a funny story. So last year I was able to attend the event, and I was extremely sick to the point where I wasn't going to attend some of them. So I jokingly claimed that I stopped the NBA because Rudy Gobert was also there. So I might have had COVID. Just kidding, kind of. Maybe I had it. I don't know. Who knows? But anyways,
for legal reasons, it's a joke.
Are you
exactly. I'm completely joking. I'm joking. Please do not come after me. So, okay, let's assume that All-Star events, let's quickly go through this. Let's assume that All-Star events are going to happen. And the All-Star voting began on Thursday, and they actually released some of the players for the first round who are getting votes. So let's start with the West. And Ken, let's start with you. Are there any players on that list right now that are surprises to you, good or bad?
Yeah, so, obviously LeBron James being number 2 overall, right, just right behind KD. I mean, that makes sense, right? The ones that I'm kind of surprised with is Donovan Mitchell because LeBron has 2.2 million, right? Almost 2.3 million votes. Next closest to him in the West is Steph Curry with 2.1. Donovan Mitchell has 236,000 votes. That's kind of low for a guy of his caliber, I would say. Along with Devin Booker. I mean, Devin's kind of had like a subpar year with CP3 joining, but I think that that's one of the biggest ones. That and the fact that Klay Thompson, who hasn't played for 2 years, has almost 100,000 votes. at this point is pretty interesting to see. But I mean, Nikola Jokic, I think, is very well deserving of these 1.4 million votes. I'm very, very happy to see that he's getting the love that he deserves from the fan.
No, for sure. And I think Dub Nation is just so strong that they'll vote even the injured ones in there. Mike, what about you? Anyone on that list that you don't see or that you're surprised is not on the list?
Yeah, for me, there was a couple. You know, I felt Devin Booker and CB3 were ranked a little low as far as the West goes, but I understand it's the Western Conference. But I just feel so bad for Damian Lillard. I just don't understand how he doesn't at least have a million at this point. I mean, this guy is a baller. I mean, did you see him in the bubble? Yeah. Okay, obviously we all saw him at the bubble, but I mean, this guy is definitely a top premier guard. I feel like Luka's season so far, I mean, based on his normal standards, I think it's below par. I think
Mike, he came in like 30 pounds heavier, so
well, I mean, that's his fault. but I mean, like Damian's still playing at a high level. I mean, yeah, but obviously something like this is a popularity contest. I mean, he has so much of the European nations on his side, so I understand that. But that was the biggest surprise for me.
Yeah, it's all about marketability for these guys. So moving on to the East, for me, I hate that none of my Raptors are on there. Even like a Fred VanVleet, like a sneak vote, he just had 54 franchise record. I would love to see it, but I'm sure Canada will get behind him. Zolti, anyone on that Eastern Conference list that you may or may not see?
I'm surprised that Russell Westbrook is all the way down at number 9 for the guards with just over 137,000 votes. Like, that seems low. I mean, I know, his Washington career has kind of been overshadowed by Bradley Beal and their like 7 straight losses or whatever it is. And Beal in first place for the guards. That's awesome to see. Yeah, shout out EJ, who's not here. EJ. If you actually threw it to me,
I think maybe 1.1 million of those were him and his family.
Well, I was about to say we were talking about Klay Thompson. We were talking about Klay Thompson in the West. Mark was supposed to be here tonight, but he's taken the night off voting for Klay Thompson another 100,000 times. So
it's double votes today.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, hashtag NBA votes. But yeah, Bradley Beal being number 1. I mean, for the guards, that's awesome to see, just based on the hard work he's put in.
For sure.
As far as no Toronto players in there, they've kind of stunk this season, so I'm not too surprised.
I know.
Well, Jolty, what are your thoughts on Julius Randle making this list? What's up?
You know what? Anytime you get a New York Knick on any top NBA list, it's a positive. That means we're headed in the right direction. I'm surprised Obi Toppin isn't in here for a rookie. He's been, sensational this year. But I mean, when you see some of the names on here, it's obvious why he's not on here.
When was the last Knick in the All-Star game? Was it Carmelo?
Does it become a roast fest for the Knicks?
Yeah, I mean, can we talk about Melo? Because he's on this list again, which is absolutely insane. And I saw a stat the other day that he was like, for fantasy in that day, he was like the number 2 player in all of fantasy. And I was like,
because CJ's out.
This is flashbacks to like 2007. It's crazy.
Dude, my question, where's LaMelo Ball at? I mean, Lonzo got some All-Star love when he first got into the league. Why not LaMelo? I don't get it. I feel like he's not
even a starter.
We'll see the rookie All-Stars. But in terms of, I don't know if there'll be a slam dunk competition, but Ken, who's one player that you would love to see participate if they do at least a virtual slam dunk?
It sucks that he sprained his ankle recently, but I wanted Aaron Gordon to finally get his slam dunk championship. Because the guy, it's all been because of Zach LaVine just spoiling him. And I would say the second time should have been Aaron Gordon's, except for D Wade. Yeah, D Wade got like was slipped a 20 from Zach LaVine. But it's one of those things where like I think Aaron Gordon should still try, but I mean, unfortunately, well, I mean, he has a month. I would say, especially if it's done virtually, like one thing that I have to give up for both Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine is that these guys don't miss dunks in the dunk contest, which is like one of the greatest things because everyone misses dunks in the dunk contest except for these two.
No, for sure. So whatever happens with the All-Star Weekend, I'm sure it won't take away the lure of the sport for its fans. So that's it for NBA talk. Right after the break, we'll go into our NFL talk, which I know these guys are itching to talk about. And we'll debate all sorts of things. So we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Factual.
We have to defeat the virus everywhere.
Timely information. Balanced. Not only in the country, but also abroad.
I'm certain of one thing.
Interviews that people need to know. Watch Aguila Pilipinas. A 1-hour newscast of reports coming from regional hubs in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Know the important updates in Asia in ASEAN in Focus. Track the latest stories in the provinces in Aguila Provincia. Tune into Mata ng Agila, the evening primetime news program of Net25. Balanced and objective, Mata ng Agila covers national and international issues, tackles news on business, health, science, and technology, entertainment, sports and human interest features, and current events. And Eagle News International delivers the latest global reports, impartial, accessible, and up-to-date. It brings to fore EBC's rich international scope and access to valuable information streams.
Well, thank you to explain our health outdoor track.
Catch these programs on Net25. You can also watch our news programs through eaglenews.ph and Eagle News Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Welcome back to EBC Sports International. I'm Zarita Sese. Thanks for sticking with us. So this weekend is a very important weekend, not only for North America, but for this very panel, as we head into Super Bowl 55, where Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs look to defend their title against none other than Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So right off the bat, I want everyone's predictions on who will win, first of all, given that these two teams are very skilled offensively. What's the final score? A lot of people are predicting that this is going to be a high-scoring Super Bowl game. So, Mike, let's start with you. Who wins, first of all, and what's the score?
Oh, well, you know, guys, I was battling about my decision this entire week. Huge fans of both of these guys. I was even doing equations on my little notepad here all week, just trying to figure out who is going to win Super Bowl 55. And at the end of the day, I just cannot bet against TB12. I just cannot. 6 Super Bowls, 6 Super Bowl game-winning drives. The GOAT, the greatest of all-time quarterbacks ever. So I'm going to go with Tom. Reason being is that this is going to be his time to shine. I kind of see this as like a Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal thing. When Shaq left the Lakers, Kobe was trying to prove that he could win without Shaq. I think Tom is in the same exact boat. He wants to prove to the world that he can win without Bill Belichick. I think as far as the game goes, it's going to be more of a defensive game because we already know Brady and Mahomes are going to go off. Both of these guys' secondaries are not the best. I think that the biggest crutch for the Chiefs are their 2 starting tackles are going to be out. Eric Fisher, Mitchell Schwartz. That's huge. That is a huge loss that people are not talking about enough. So if the Bucs can get to Mahomes without blitzing, the last time they played, they only blitzed 17% of the time. So if they can get to Mahomes with just 4 guys there, the Chiefs are in very, very big trouble. They did sack Aaron Rodgers twice in the NFC Championship. I think as far as pocket presence goes, I think Aaron Rodgers and Mahomes are fairly similar. Obviously, Mahomes is a lot more athletic, but as far as skill set, I believe is a little the same. So at the end of the day, I think Brady's going to lead them to a last-minute touchdown. I have Bucks 31, Chiefs 27.
Okay, interesting. Zolti, is this the first time you're going to agree with Mike and what he says? What's your take?
No, this game has a feel to me like the Super Bowl with the Seahawks and the Broncos. And I know, Mike, you remember that. It was a 43-8 win for the Seahawks. That is not my prediction, but it has that sort of feel because you had Russell Wilson against the GOAT at the time, Peyton Manning with the Broncos. And it was supposed to be this high, it was the number one offense versus number one defense. It was supposed to be this high scoring, electric game. And, you know, the Broncos didn't show up. And after what I saw from the receivers with the Bucks, well, it wasn't last weekend, it was the weekend before, with Mike Evans dropping like 4 passes, with both of their safeties, the Bucs safeties, being injured. Antoine Winfield Jr. is hurt, and I don't remember the other guy's name, but he's hurt too. They were limited in practice all week just to be, you know, sort of ready for this game. I feel like, you know, you put any of their corners or even their safeties on Tyreek Hill, it's no chance. Tyreek Hill's going to win that every time. This, like I said, this game has that Seahawks-Broncos feel to me. And, you know, even if they're missing their 2 tackles, I mean, Mike, you forget how good Patrick Mahomes is when he's running the ball. It's like I said last week, you know, don't be fooled by his little old man jog between plays. This guy, 1 step, and he is gone. Like 99 yards, like he's gone. And he can make the plays. You know, he can throw the ball while he's running too. So I'm going to say 31-14 for the Chiefs.
Hot take. Ken, what is your take in all of this? Do you agree? Whose team are you on? Mike's team or Zolti?
Since Patrick answered my question, I'm gonna go for Patrick Mahomes.
This is biased.
No, I'm always against everybody on the show.
You know, so I think one of the big things is that to consider it. Yes, Patrick is a very mobile quarterback, but he has a toe injury, and if his toe isn't like up to par with 2 guys from your O-line missing, it can be a terribly long game. However, I think he's going to make the most of it. He's going to be mobile, despite the fact that I don't know if we're going to talk about this in a little while. The weather, there's a high chance of rain. But I think despite that, you know, you have such big pieces. I mean, I think Tyreek Hill put up like 200 yards and like 3 touchdowns in like the first quarter of the last time they played. Yeah, the first quarter of the last time they played. So Tyreek has the Bucks number, and I mean Kelsey is just absolutely disgusting at home too. So you know you got to remember that this is not at home, but I mean like you know like with this kind of weather, I think that there's a good chance that you're going to need mobility, and with the way that Mahomes is, just being such a crazy mobile quarterback that can make crazy on-the-run moves, I think that goes on the side of the Chiefs. And for me, my score is going to be 43-37. Take that down.
Wow. Let me write that down.
Let me mention one thing. Let me do a little rebuttal here. So let's not get it twisted, guys. Last time they met, Bucks lost by 3 points, okay? And this was still in the time when the Bucks were still trying to discover themselves or trying to figure things out. Yeah, Tyreek put up 200 yards, 3 touchdowns in the first quarter, but he was absolutely shut down the second half. Kelsey was shut down the entire game, so it's possible. So I think that, again, I think the defense is going to be key. I think the Bucks led the NFL the entire playoffs with takeaways. I think they had 10 takeaways in the 3 playoff games that they had. So this is, my opinion, it's going to be a close game. I mean, first game, Chiefs were up big. Brady led 2 huge drives in the second half, but it's definitely going to come down to the wire.
So Zolti, let me ask you here. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Okay. So what we are forgetting also is that both of these teams have surprisingly sneaky running backs. Clyde Edwards-Helaire can take off for a 200-yard game easy. You know, I mean, his first game of the season, in his rookie season, the guy went for like 150. Like, this guy, when he's on top of his game, he's unstoppable. You go to the other side, and you got Ronald Jones, who's a little bit banged up, but this guy can take it for 150 easy too, right? I mean, these defenses are not the best defenses in the league. I know you just mentioned the takeaways, and yeah, that's great. Tampa does have 2 of the better linebackers in the league with Shaq Barrett and Devin White, but these running backs, this could easily, sneakily be a running back game and not a quarterback game. These guys can run up the score and make Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady look like, the backseat drivers. Like, it's one of those games.
That's a good point.
No, for sure. I was going to say, Zolti, if you had to pick an underdog, who would the underdog be? Would it be the Chiefs, kind of their lack of experience, but going into their second year into the Super Bowl, or Tom Brady, who's in a new system but is widely experienced?
It's got to be Tom. It's got to be the Bucks. Just based on the fact that, yes, Tom Brady has been to 33 of the 50 Super Bowls in history, but you look at the experience of the rest of the players around him. Leonard Fournette, barely any playoff experience. Ronald Jones, no playoff experience. Basically, the Bucks with Jameis Winston, 0 playoff experience, right? So, and then you got the Chiefs, who are the defending Super Bowl champs. So they have all the experience. They have everything to lose. The Bucks are the definite underdogs here.
Interesting. Tom Brady as the underdog. That's a new take. So
I don't know. I feel like
I love it.
I want to say that I feel like Tom Brady's pieces. I mean, if any of these guys show up on Sunday, I mean, I know Antonio Brown kind of has a bum knee right now, but I mean, like, if this guy can put down 200 himself too. But the thing with, I mean, you would hope that. I mean, I don't like him as a person at all, but like, the guy is absolute hardcore talent. And if he shows up, and even if you get like 20% of Gronk, 20% of Gronk is better than like 99% of the league, other than Travis Kelce right now. But I mean, it's Tom Brady has insane weapons, and if these guys decide, if maybe like two of these guys decide to show up on Sunday, I think it'll be a hard task for
Antonio Brown. Isn't even the best receiver on that team. Just think about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, one thing that makes me very nervous is that Steve Spagano, the defensive coordinator for the Chiefs, has Brady's number. Brady has yet to beat him when it matters most. He was on the New York Giants staff when he got those lucky Super Bowls against Brady.
Lucky, yeah, okay.
But I will say that he just knows Brady's tendencies. I mean, he basically plays a 4-1-6 that confused the heck out of Mayfield and Allen in those 2 divisional rounds. They couldn't get anything going. But
how are you going to throw against 6 DBs? That's impossible.
Yeah. But if there's one person that can defeat Spagano, it's Mr. Brady, baby.
But I'm just talking about playoff experience alone.
You guys are both former football players, and I don't know if the show knows this. Jolty played college, but like, how big of a deal does like rain and high humidity make for?
These guys know the weather forecast. These guys know the weather forecast weeks in advance, and going up into leading up to the week. That's how they practice. They got buckets of buckets bigger than me. I'm 280 pounds. They got buckets bigger than me. And they just soak the balls all day long, and that's what they throw with. When it comes to crowd noise, they pump crowd noise into their practice facility. They'll practice outside in the pouring rain, in the snow. It doesn't matter. That's why these guys are at the top of their game and in the Super Bowl, because they're absolute pros.
Yeah, I think the only thing that would be really tough to play in is snow, because especially if you're a DB, because you have no idea where the wide receiver is going, and you have to get your balance or whatnot. But yeah, I totally agree with Jolty. Rain is just, it's all mental at the end of the day. If anything, it should concentrate more, like catching the ball, making tackles and things like that.
When it comes to like quarterback play in snow, I mean, there's obviously not going to be snow in Tampa Bay, but you got Tom Brady, who spent, the last 20 years in New England, and the 4 years before that in Michigan. And then you got Patrick Mahomes, who plays in Kansas City. These places are known for snow, right? So you're not going to get any issues there. DBs, that's a different story. Yeah. But like I said, in Tampa, you're not going to have to worry about snow. So
yeah. So as it stands right now, I just checked the weather. So it's projected to be 23 degrees Celsius, 73 degrees Fahrenheit, with 60% chance of precipitation. So I don't think I've seen this many sports fans watch the weather so hard, unless it was related to the Super Bowl, of course. So we're going to continue on with our NFL talk right after the break. Don't go anywhere.
Many MSMEs were quick enough to adapt strategies needed to keep their businesses afloat during the pandemic and maintain their brand presence despite the COVID-19 crisis. It is also time for MSMEs to prepare for the challenges of 2021. We will hear the ideas and insights of a respected entrepreneur on creativity, innovation, and collaboration in this episode of Open for Business, as well as the outlook for 2021 for MSMEs.
Everything will be in a starting line again. We will rebuild again. It was a storm. It's time to rebuild.
Mr. George Noel Winicky III will join us in this week's episode of Open for Business.
Hey there, Arnie Aquino here at Hatley Castle, one of the filming locations for the X-Men series. Don't forget to tune in to Digital Nest only on Net25.
Nakakataas balahibo yung ginawa nyo. Kanta pa lang ng Pinoy, di ba?
Umpisa pa lang talaga namang totoo nga, kinilabutan din ako.
Yung level of difficulty talagang kitang-kita namin.
More dance action dito lang sa Tagisan ng Galing Part 2 Dance Edition!
Welcome back to EBC Sports International. I'm Zarita Sese from Toronto, Canada. So before the break, we were talking NFL and we were focused on the teams themselves. But now we're going to move on to individual play. So Mike, I'm going to start with you. Are you surprised what Tom Brady has been able to do with his new team?
Honestly, yeah. I still remember the day Jolty and I were debating about.
Yes, please remind us. Please.
Which Jolty admitted that he was wrong. Thank you very much. But honestly, I had my doubts, especially that Saints game where they just got destroyed. Like it was like 48-10 or something like that, or 48-3, I believe. For me personally, I thought that he was going to lead them to the playoffs, but I didn't expect him to go to the Super Bowl the first year. But yeah, it just goes to show how powerful one person can just change the culture of the whole organization. I mean, you see it with LeBron, you see it with like Ronaldo and soccer. You see it with just a top elite athlete. So yeah, I was super surprised.
So then going off that, Zolty, what does that say about Tom Brady's legacy, especially with the Patriots organization? Because a lot of people will argue maybe it's a Belichick organization, or now is it Brady that was making all the difference all those years?
I mean, let's not take anything away from Bruce Arians, the coach of the Bucs. That guy is a phenomenal coach and always has been. But I mean, Brady is. There's no arguing that Brady's the GOAT. This isn't Michael Jordan, LeBron James type of argument. Brady's the GOAT. When you can play for over 20 years, put up the numbers he has, go to as many Super Bowls he has, win or lose, this guy's the GOAT. And I think the Patriots are going to be in trouble for years to come without a play. player like Tom Brady.
Wow, Jolty, turn of events.
Is this
Hey, I never said he wasn't the GOAT. I never said he wasn't the GOAT. I just said he wasn't going to lead the Bucks to the playoffs. That's all I said.
So now moving on to Mahomes then, your best friend there, Ken. So what does that say about Mahomes going up against the Tom Brady? And if he wins the Super Bowl, what does that say about him on his team?
Yeah, that says that he has 2 Super Bowl championships. That's about it. I mean, like he has, the guy's 25. Tom Brady's 43. So he has 18 years to catch up. And I think, you know, as far as how the game has evolved, he can technically, if he want, I mean, he even said it in his interview, you know, like he looks up to Tom Brady and also looks up to how Tom Brady like conducts himself during and off season, whether it be the diet or how he does his workouts. So if he follows that same regimen, I mean, he has more of a LeBron body than he does a Tom Brady body. So I think if he does go through that regimen, like he could play even longer than Tom Brady. And with once his mobility starts going down and down, like just how Tom Brady has over the years, like he'll be wiser and he'll have better looks and he'll be smarter. I mean, like the guy's already like revolutionized the game as is in his 4th year. You know, don't forget, I think it was like his 2nd year, he had 50 touchdowns. I mean, the dude is insane, and he's only getting better. The fact that like he could be pulling off a potential like dynasty with this team already speaks volumes. Definitely not the GOAT, but on a fast track.
Interesting. So for you, Mike, we throw the word GOAT around all the time, but with someone like Mahomes, like Ken was saying, in your mind, does that already put him, what he's done in his short career, already put him in conversation for GOAT status?
I wouldn't put him in GOAT status yet, but definitely the greatest 3 or 4 seasons ever of any quarterback who's ever played the game. Easy. I mean, especially if he wins on Sunday. I mean, that's going to be 2 in a row. The last time a team had won back-to-back Super Bowls is when Brady did it with the Patriots. It was 03 and 04. But yeah, I mean, I hearken to basically what Ken's saying is that, I mean, this guy looks up to Brady. That's definitely going to be the gold standard. But in my book, he's definitely have to win a couple more to catch, you know, Joe Montana, who's won 4, hasn't lost any Super Bowls. You have Terry Bradshaw, who's won 5. So he has quite a bit of leeway to catch up on. But again, easily the greatest 3 or 4 seasons of any quarterback who's ever played football.
Interesting. Zolti, what's your take on the Mahomes GOAT status?
I mean, he's obviously not a GOAT yet. He's only been in the league for a few years. If he keeps up what he's doing, I mean, he's well on his way. I'm going to throw a couple of crazy stats at you. With Patrick Mahomes as the starter, games that the Chiefs lost, they have not scored less than 31 points, which means that the team who they lost to has to outscore Patrick Mahomes. That's how crazy it is. The second stat I'm going to throw at you is in games that Patrick Mahomes started and played the whole game. Win or loss, the Chiefs have not had less than 400 yards of offense. That is mind-boggling. If he can keep this up for, you know, let's say even the next 10 years, his status as the GOAT will be up there. But, I mean, you got to take this Brady 20 plus years and, you know, passing touchdown record and passing yards record into account. It's going to be very, very difficult to beat Brady as the GOAT.
So I know it's been 2 weeks since Mahomes did play, but of course he was taken out because of concussion. Now, Ken, how much do you think he's fully resolved the concussion? Do you think the foot injury that you mentioned earlier is going to be a bigger factor? Because I worry that he might have been cleared for play at this caliber of play solely because it's the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you know, if he's playing Call of Duty, I think he's fine. I'm just kidding. You know, like he played the last game. He looked good, and I think you know, as far, I think I'm more wary of his foot, of his toe, if anything. But I mean, I feel like, especially with all football players, this is something that literally every single football player says, like, if you're not injured by this time, especially by the time of the Super Bowl, then you haven't been playing. Because everyone's injured, literally, at this time. I mean, so it's one of those things where, you know, whether it be a small or a big injury, you're not going to stop your star quarterback from getting on the field. I mean, I think even if he wasn't feeling well, you know, mentally, based on that concussion, I think the Chiefs would still find a way to put him on the field, no matter what. But another crazy stat that somebody brought up during that interview during Media Week was that games that Patrick has started, they have never been down more than a touchdown.
Yeah, that's right. Lost. That they've lost. They've never lost by more than a touchdown.
Yeah, and I think that the last time that's happened was in college when I believe he got hurt in the first half
against Texas A&M.
Yeah. So I mean, like these Patrick stats, like that we're talking about right now, they're going to be legendary in the future. I mean, like if commercials say anything about how popular a player is and how impactful a player is, this guy is. And all of us have mentioned it. He is on the fast track to the GOATdom. Like I feel like if he doesn't have any major injuries, and I think that's a huge factor of what makes a person GOAT. Both Tom Brady and LeBron have it. Is being able to stay on the field or court. And I think that if he's able to do that in his you know, illustrious career, I think the sky's the limit for this dude.
So, Mike, a question I didn't get to ask you earlier, Block, but I want to know is how much do you think experience, just on the quarterbacks alone, how much does that benefit Tom Brady over Mahomes?
Oh, huge. Or were you asking me? Sorry.
Yeah. No, that was for you.
Huge. It's huge. Because, I mean, think about it. 20 plus years in the league, he's seen literally every type of defense out there. He's seen every type of blitz. He's seen every type of technique. He's seen everything, and I think that's going to be a huge advantage that he's going to have. Obviously, Steve Spagnuolo has his number, but I don't think the Kansas City Chiefs has as much talent as the Giants did when they did beat them. But yeah, I would say experience is always going to be a huge key.
Interesting. So yeah, I'll remember your takes, guys, and call you out when one of you's wrong. So before we end our show, you know we have to ask our question of the week. So continue on with their Super Bowl theme. I want to ask the guys, if you were to host a Super Bowl party, which right now I know I'm not allowed because of quarantine, what are your 3 must-haves on your menu items? So I'll start. For me, loaded nachos for sure. Get that Kamayan style. Just dump it out on the table. Sliders, but on the Hawaiian rolls. And of course, wings. So Ken, I know you're a foodie. I see it on your social media. What's on your menu?
Well, I mean, like, one of the good things about this whole stay-at-home thing is that I've learned how to cook. So I'm actually cooking this weekend. On my menu are spare ribs, slow cook. I have also pizza that I'm going to be making from scratch, and then I have some Korean barbecue short rib breast bulgogi that's marinating right now.
It's a very worldly Super Bowl party there. Mike, what about you?
I'm going to go with sushi. Any type of sushi is fine. I'm going to go New York style pizza, and then I'm going to go lumpia, just to call out on my...
Oh, another cultural Super Bowl party over there. And lastly, Zolty, what do you got?
I know I'm the white guy, but I'm going Filipino. Other than wings, we got to have wings. But if you don't have pork sisig and lechon paksiw at your Super Bowl party, it's over. I'm not coming.
Okay, I'm going to Zolty's house for the Super Bowl. Forget you guys. So that's all the time that we have for this week's edition of EBC Sports International. On behalf of everyone on the panel, thank you so much for tuning in this week. Make sure to visit our website, eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at EagleNewsPH to join the conversation. From Toronto, Canada, I'm Zarita Sese. We live in interesting times.
Brady.